Night view of Manhattan, New York with skyscrapers brightly lit. An old Gothic bank building stands in the mist, and bells ring in the distance. Is there an invisible chessboard hidden behind this world that is apparently dominated by democracy, capital, and technology? Who is setting up the chess game? Who are the chess pieces? This question was once regarded as a classic example of conspiracy theory, but in recent years, more and more signs, events, and archives seem to point to an astonishing possibility. At the top of the power hierarchy on Earth, there is an ancient and secretive network, a bloodline system woven by 13 families who never appear in the spotlight, but control the lifeline of international banks, multinational energy, the military-industrial complex, and even the global media. Their surnames are like codes: Rothschild, Rockefeller, DuPont, Morgan, Lee, Kennedy, Bush, Aldrich, Disney, Osborne, Russell, Bundy, and the most mysterious 13th family, whose name has not been made public to this day. But are these names coincidences or designs? Are they really the hidden rulers who dominate the world? Or is it just a projection magnified in the storm of power and wealth? To explore this question, we must go back in time, to a world of secret clubs, financial empires, and blood transactions. A hidden network that has never really been exposed, but may affect your life and mine. In 1776, in a dark study in 18th century Germany, Adam Weishaupt was plotting to create the Illuminati. 1776. For many people, this is the year when the American Declaration of Independence was born. But in Bavaria, Europe, a more secret revolution was quietly brewing. Adam Weishaupt, a former Jesuit, founded an organization called the Illuminati, whose goal goes far beyond religious belief: to control thought, finance, media, and politics, and to reshape the structure of human civilization with secret networks. In another direction, the financial core of London, England, the 1 square mile financial city, is also quietly building the capital center of a new world order. During the same period, the rise of the Rothschild family marked the birth of a new type of financial aristocracy. After Mayer Amschel Rothschild established a bank in Frankfurt, he sent his 5 sons to London, Paris, Naples, Vienna, and Frankfurt, forming the first transnational financial network in Europe. This is not only a business layout, but also the beginning of a political game. This is the prototype of the family system, a power structure that can manipulate national policies and the direction of war without relying on votes or the military, but only on marriage, blood, shares, and secret agreements. From that moment on, a new form of nobility was quietly born, who did not need to be crowned but were more influential than the king. In the late 19th century in the United States, the Rockefeller family rose quietly and quickly monopolized oil. If the Rothschilds represented the architects of the financial empires of the Old World, then John D. Rockefeller was the architect of the power structures of the New World. In 1870, Rockefeller founded Standard Oil, which monopolized the American oil industry to such an extent that it was called a country within a country. His power is not only reflected in the economy, but also permeates education, health, media, and even global foreign policy. In 1913, the Federal Reserve Act was passed, and the privately held Federal Reserve was formally established. Its shareholder structure has not been fully disclosed to date. Behind this, according to legend, the Rockefeller family was one of the earliest behind-the-scenes shareholders of the Federal Reserve. The shareholding chain between the Federal Reserve System and the 8 major banks gradually emerged with the names of the Morgan, Rockefeller, Kuhn Loeb, and other families. They are not above politics, but have become the rules themselves. They have set up an economic research fund at Harvard University, an international medical center at the United Nations, and an energy loan mechanism at the World Bank. They control not only resources, but also the direction of civilization. This is the high wall outside the Bilderberg Group meeting room. And they are never alone. From the Council on Foreign Relations, CFR, funded by the Rockefeller family, to the Trilateral Commission where elites gather, to the Bilderberg Group meetings that have not published their agendas for decades, these supranational organizations are regarded as the central nervous system for the 13 families to control the global agenda. The participants in these meetings span the political, business, military, and media circles. The US President, NATO Secretary General, European Central Bank executives, and heads of technology companies. But you never see them actually discussed in the mainstream news. Why? In 2001, an underground book titled Bloodlines of the Illuminati caused great controversy. In the book, author Fritz Springmeier lists 13 families and claims that they are the spiritual economic complex that controls the world. The history of each family can be traced back to the Middle Ages or even earlier ancient Babylonian lineage. The contents of this book were quickly dismissed by the mainstream as conspiracy theories. But strangely, many of its contents were later repeatedly coincidentally verified. The Kennedy family's financial background and the record of cooperation with the Rothschild Bank. The Aldrich family was closely associated with the founding group of the Federal Reserve. The Russell family founded the Skull and Bones Society, whose members include several US presidents and CIA directors. The Li family is considered to be the most influential invisible network in Asia, and Li Ka-shing, Li Tenghui, Lee Kuan Yew, and others are all speculated to come from different branches. These families are called the Blacklist. Their wealth and power are no longer measured by a single company or asset, but are measured by systematic rules. Global trade framework, international monetary standards, and paths for the dissemination of cultural values. The question is this really a planned system, or do we humans just like to find some illusion of order in chaos? Financial elites in suits and ties talked loudly at the Davos Forum, Capitol Hill in Washington. DC was brightly lit, and the City of London had silent traffic under the golden lights at night. Do they really control the world? This is a question that is both ridiculed and repeatedly verified. We must face a fact. In today's world, 99% of global wealth is concentrated in the hands of less than 1% of the people. And among this 1%, the vast majority belong to family trusts, private funds, and closed holding structures, hidden very deeply. This is the chain of holdings of BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, seemingly scattered, but all held by anonymous funds, ultimately pointing to vague, private holders. In 2021, the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology released a research report that shocked the world. They used mathematical models to analyze the equity data of more than 40,000 multinational companies and found that more than 60% of the world's wealth flows and control is concentrated in 147 supercore companies. These enterprises are cross-shareholded by a small number of financial institutions, forming a closed-loop structure, a modern, invisible empire. Behind Walmart, Coca-Cola, Pfizer, and Google are investment funds owned by Blackstone, Pioneer, and the Rockefeller family. These companies do not issue orders, but they can decide the news you read every day, the mortgage interest rate you pay, the medicines you take, and which company the water you drink comes from. So are they the modernized evolution of the 13th family? Or are the 13th family just the original catalyst behind this mechanism? Reconstructing the real scenario of 13 family control. Historical comparison between J.P. Morgan Chase and Citibank, controlled by the Morgan family. The DuPont family entered the Pentagon supply chain through military-industrial enterprises. The Bush family's early economic alliance with the Saudi royal family in the military intelligence community. The Kennedy family's complex relationship with the CIA during the Cold War. You may say that these are just coincidences and history always has its own evolutionary logic. But there is another possibility. We already live in a system of genetic power, except that it no longer requires a conspicuous royal title, but exists in a more complex and invisible way. As sociologist C. Wright Mills said in his book, The Power Elite, the real rulers are not those who appear in the news every day, but those who decide who appears in the news. Perhaps you still have doubts. Does such a system as 13 families really exist? Are these names, these connections, these maps just illusions of the information age? But you have to admit, whether or not these families have a common will, their influence has indeed shaped our world. They decide when a war will break out, when an economic crisis will break out, whether a politician can appear in the camera, and whether a technological invention can be used by civilians. They don't appear on the ballot, but they influence your voting choices. They don't appear in your courses, but they determine the textbooks you read. They don't write movie scripts, but they fund the investors of movies. When we stand in front of the ATM machine, when we watch the TV news, when we scroll through social media, we are not looking for a scapegoat for an evil conspiracy, but rather asking, in this era of information overload and extreme concentration of wealth, do we really know who is in power? The more frightening question is, if this rule has never been officially announced and has never required public approval, then has it already been accepted by us? If you are willing to continue exploring these hidden historical tracks and real-life mysteries, please subscribe to our channel. Tell us in the comments, do you believe in the existence of the 13th family, or is it just a psychological myth created by the public in a complex world? Don't forget to like, forward, and light up the little bell. We will continue to take you to uncover more archives hidden behind the world's surface.